once a talented lady who seemed a little shady. For her name I shall not say, this tale will be told from night to day. This lady had a vision that left her with a mighty big decision. She was a fortune teller, known by many, and instead of being greedy and full of malgestures, her willingness to tell was ran only by her cluster. For when she was young, she had her first hallucination of a man who told her fortune-telling was her obligation. If she had denied this gift, her loved ones would be set adrift. Alone and scared, she knew her family would not last, so she accepted her fate, knowing it could not be surpassed. She lived her life appreciating the little things, and with every fortune she told, she felt a little less cold. Who knew others' misfortunes affected the teller? The pain she felt would last forever. Her gift felt like a curse, something that could not be treated by a nurse. One day she sat down, feeling lonely, only wearing a frown. As a way to try to feel better, she was ready to be a teller, not for a fellow neighbor or passing pedestrian, but for herself. She wanted to know her future health, as well as her love life and wealth. Calmly she looked through her crystal clear ball, and what she saw made her almost bawl. A smile made its way to her face, and it made her look like a nutcase. No greater joy had she ever felt. She fell to the ground and immediately knelt. With her hands raised to the sky, she thanked God for the news that almost made her cry. Her crystal ball revealed a joyful life. She would have a husband, 2 children, and money to spend. This combination revealed a perfect end. The perfect man she saw through her ball. He was handsome, smart, and 6 feet tall. This man I shall wait upon, the fortune teller thought out loud. No other can support me. No other will make me proud. Now here is where her dilemma takes place. With this teller there are no guarantees, making her life a little difficult to please. As men ask for her love, she brushes them away. None seem to be her perfect blue jay. As the years passed by, she grew anxious to meet her perfect guy. Another vision came to her, and she saw her grandmother covered in fur. For in her vision, her grandpa had held all the answers to her problems. Should she settle for another man? Should she wait for the one in her plan? Her grandfather would know what path to take, and she was determined to know, because she did not want to make another mistake. So off she went to the village where her grandfather stayed, walking calm when really she was afraid. What if her grandmother did not remember who she was? She needed not to think negative, for she was a blood relative. Alone on the straight path toward her destination, the fortune teller was free of any obligation. On the path, no one was around to ask her what the future held, and it was a relief because she probably would have yelled. As much as she wanted to make everyone happy, right now she only wanted to see her pappy. The road getting loopy and full of bumps made her stomach feel like it was full of lumps. Feeling a little sick, the fortune teller decided to sit down real quick. Approaching her, she noticed a little bunny. It did not run away, which she thought was funny. Right by her feet, she picked up the furry creature, and right away she thought it looked like her old teacher. A man, looking worried, emerged from the trail, rating a 9 on a 1 through 10 scale. He looked at the fortune teller and fell in love. Together they looked like a match from above. He thanked her for capturing his bunny, who wandered out of sight, and all she could say was, happy to reunite. They both stood in silence, both quiet with their shyness. At this moment the fortune teller reminded herself why she was on the trail. She had no time to spend with that male. She needed her uncle to tell her what to do. And so she left the gorgeous man faster than he could say blue. Only a couple blocks away from the house, the fortune teller got as quiet as a mouse. The moment she was waiting for was on the other side of the door. Finally ready to hear what her grandfather was going to declare, she opened the door for a surprise for which she did not prepare. Her puppy lay dead, cold and alone on the bedspread. Why me? She cried. Her only hope for direction had died. Instead of worrying about her deceased pappy, she cried because she would never be happy. Now she was the one who had a grand decision to make. And her whole life was at stake. Should she settle for another man? Should she wait for the one in her plan? There was too much riding on this decision. She would definitely need to make a revision of every choice she had ever made. By all the older ones were beginning to fade. A decision like this should be determined by fate. But the fortune teller needed an answer that would be straight. Since she couldn't make a decision to decide to flip a dime, heads she looked for another man, and tails she would wait for a perfect man's arrival time. With butterflies in her belly, she threw the coin in the air. It was like confetti, as the coin was in the air. She started to mentally prepare. She was scared of the outcome, since this would decide who might be her loved one. Was this the right decision, flipping a dime? The answer would come in time. But did she have the time? The coin was falling like being in the air was a crime. The dime held her future life, and of which man she would be a wife. She caught the dime as it came back down and covered it with her hand, which was brown. She was scared, unprepared. The time was then. But she worried again and again. The choice had to be made. This was the time that could not fade. She took her time, looking down at her hand, and turned it over to see what the coin had land. The choice had been made, and she was no longer afraid. She would wait for her perfect man, for it was the coin chose that laid in her hand. Happy as can be, she felt as like she was handed a key to her future, filled with happiness and humor. She went back home and began to roam. She waited and waited for many years like a stranded pup, but it was no surprise when he never showed up.